you, Tudor, and thank you for everybody for being here. This is it's been a whirlwind of a week. Last week I was a project manager for a construction company, and here we are today. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about my personal story so you understand why this election is so important to me, why defeating Gretchen Whitmer is so important to me, and why electing Tudor Dixon is so important to me. I grew up in the thumb of Michigan. My mother was raised on a small dairy farm, the kind of dairy farm you can't make a living on anymore today. Tudor talked about government regulations. They've destroyed dairy farms. You can't make a living on what her parents did today. My father, who's third generation in this country, was a migrant worker. He picked vegetables in Ohio, he picked cotton in Texas, he picked cucumbers in Michigan when he was 8 years old. We were a poor family. I grew up in an incredibly low-income family. I'm Hispanic. My dad was working a union job when I was a kid at the pickle factory in Crowellsville. It was the world's largest pickle factory. And I believed my entire life that I was a Democrat for those three reasons. Low-income, Hispanic, union worker. I had no understanding of politics, and my father had no understanding of it outside of, well, Democrats are for the poor, so you're a Democrat. And somewhere around the age of 16, my brother is 5 years older than me, and somehow he decided he was a Republican, and I wanted to be like my older brother. And then I realized how mad it made my dad, so it was a lot more fun. But somewhere along in that age, I realized every value that my Democrat father taught me was a conservative value. He just didn't realize that's what he was teaching us. And since we're here at the Italian American Center, I'll tell you that the person my dad, my brother, and I would all credit with helping us realize that was my uncle. My mom's sister married a man named Jack DiGiuseppe. He was strong in his faith. He was a hardcore Republican, and he worked on all three of us and helped us realize that we didn't know what we really were. My childhood was based on hard work. When you get knocked down, you get back up. I was telling a group earlier today that I didn't even know we were low income until I was 20, and I could look back at it because I wasn't allowed to get free and reduced lunch. We didn't accept it. My dad worked every day until he was 68 years old and never once drove to work. He walked or rode his bike to work every single day because he knew we couldn't afford a second car. I started to look at those things and realize, wow, I really am a Republican. Now, it took me another 10 years to get him there. On Saturday, he will be a delegate at convention.
Oh, woo!
But we have this idea today coming from the left that it's systemic, right? That you can't change things in one generation. And I will tell you that my father was a migrant worker picking vegetables in a field as a kid. I have a master's degree in architecture. I worked 12 years in the architectural field. I've been in the legislature. I've been the chair of the House Appropriations Committee. In the last year and a half, I've started 3 businesses that are on hold for now. And that's okay. That's okay, because this is incredibly important. And I'm the nominee for Lieutenant Governor. And I truly believe everything is at stake in this election. As Tudor laid out the plans that she has for the state of Michigan, and she got into that and covered it great, but everything is at stake. We have to remember where we were in the last 2 years. Children out of school, businesses hurting, people watching their loved ones die through a window at a nursing home. We have to remember that. We have to look at where we are right now. People who can't afford their groceries. They can't put gas in their car. They might not be able to find groceries if they can't afford them. You know, I worked the last 2 months for a construction company as a project manager, and the owner and we go out and put our boots on and got to go out and work because there's no workers. We can fix this. we can come together and fix this. I think I have a background to understand the challenges that the average family are having, and to go out and connect with them, and to travel this state and talk to them about how we're going to bring Michigan back. I'll tell you a little bit about my time in the legislature and wrap this up. In the position of Appropriations Chair, I negotiated directly with Gretchen Whitmer. I got that position in January of 2019, and I think it was about a month of being excited about it, and then all of a sudden, Gretchen Whitmer rolls out her budget with a 45-cent gas tax increase. Now, I knew right away, and I got asked over and over, where are you willing to compromise? Is it 20 cents? Is it 15 cents? Is it a tax on Uber and Lyft and other services? And from day one, I said, my compromise is zero, because the people I know can't afford it. And I rolled out a budget that year that put $850 million more into roads without a penny of increase in taxes anywhere else. The schools lost nothing. The local governments lost absolutely nothing. By combing through that entire budget and making the government hurt, making the departments find, where are you going to cut 5%? You're asking everybody else to go out and find 45 cents. Where are you going to cut 5% out of your budget? Where are you going to I went through and found all of their little side projects they had, where they've got 10 million sitting here and 40 million sitting there that they just sit on. And they've had it for years. And I said, no, you're giving it back. And we put $850 million more into roads without a tax increase. Those are the kinds of things she doesn't want to do. She came back and she bonded for $3.2 billion. She financed my kids' future. And I still don't think we're fixing our roads. You know, when the shutdowns happened, my phone rang off the hook. Florists, landscapers. Can you believe that we didn't let people mow lawns? I had a mason call me and said I was laying brick on a house by myself, and the sheriff came out and made me stop. He said, Shane, I don't know what to do. I have to pay my bills. And I had no answers for them. So, as you know, there was an emergency law that allowed her to issue orders for, I think, 28 days. The legislature could extend. We extended it once. We were working with her. Nobody knew what it was at that time. But then it came to the end of that 30 days, and she wanted another 30 days. And there were negotiations going on behind the scenes for another 30 days. And I was the one that said, no, we cannot do this. We have to let locals figure out the best way to deal with this. What's happening in Detroit is not what's happening in the Upper Peninsula or the thumb of Michigan. We have to let our locals figure out how to deal with this. And that's the day I sponsored a resolution to enter a lawsuit against her for her unconstitutional orders. Put a stop to that. I have the legislative experience. I've gone to battle with Gretchen Whitmer. I'm ready to go to battle with her again. I'm looking forward to it. Tudor Dixon has an incredible vision for Michigan that I'm so excited to get on board with. And we need every one of you in this room to get out and spread the word. As she said, she just went through a battle. And we got to be ready to go again. That's why it didn't matter that I didn't have a ton of time to get ready for this. That didn't matter. I sat in my driveway talking to my wife that day, work boots on, and I was back and forth a little bit. And my wife looked at me and said, what are you thinking? Can you look our kids in the eye and tell them you did everything in your power to stop this and change it? You've got to go do this. And that's exactly why I'm here today. Because this is, we say it all the time, but it is the most important election that we've had in Michigan. This is our opportunity to change our path. It'll take each and every one of you to help us, and I'm really excited to be on board with Tudor Dixon, and thank you.